What is up, everyone? My name is Wynne, and welcome to The Breakdown, our new show here at M&G Media, where we break down all things big and small that affect you and me. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right into it. The idea of a fan club has evolved pretty rapidly over the last century, from organized fan societies to the casual online forum where people can share their interests. The idea of being a major fan of just about anything has morphed into its very own subculture. Here at The Breakdown, we'll take a look at fan culture as a whole, the history, and the impact it has on our culture. Take a look.
With a quick Google search, you can find superfans of just about anything and anyone. Whether you love Beyonce, the New York Yankees, or Game of Thrones, you're bound to find a place to share your endless love and devotion. Participating in online fan societies can be as simple as following a few fan accounts on social media, or as involved as creating hierarchies for a fan kingdom, or fandom. Platforms like Tumblr, Reddit, and Twitter allow users to air obsessions, grievances, or even works of fanfiction with as much fervor as they want. And although fandoms are most often a place to demonstrate appreciation, fan armies can also make themselves into weapons of harassment and intimidation that threaten to undermine any sense of inclusion or community. And they're pretty hard to stop, even when they want to. A study conducted by sociologyresearch.net suggests that the content you consume does have a role in shaping your perspective, in both good and bad ways, especially where pop culture is concerned. While fan culture continues to have the capacity to nurture extremely empowering spaces, there's an ugly side to passionate followings, as evidenced in the actions of extreme fandoms. Cyberbullying, death threats, and even criminal activity are unfortunately common in some fandoms. And although most of these activities are often masked by the anonymity of the internet, it's not always the case. Sporting events, comic conventions, and concerts have always been susceptible to the same clashing of ideas as any online forum. So whether or not they do more harm than good, fandoms are a staple in modern pop culture, and they're not going away anytime soon.
Fans are a driving force for the entertainment industry today, there's no denying. Sports teams, pop stars, and video game developers all rely on these communities for survival, and they have for quite a few years. Coming up, Angel Torres will give us a look at how the fandoms of powerhouses like the Beatles, Michael Jackson, and other pop culture icons have left their mark on American history.
Fanatics have been around long before the first television show, the first movie, or even the first pop star ever took a stage. Most people during the earlier parts of civilization were fans of plays, books, or songs. However, all these creations have one thing in common, which is the fact that they have all helped spawn a type of culture which we refer to as fan culture today. Fan culture has become one of the most dominant forces driving the entertainment industry, because without fans, there is no industry. Over the years, fan culture has changed and left its unique mark on society. Here's a brief breakdown of some of the great fanaticisms in time. During the 1960s, America fell in love with four UK lads called the Beatles. The Beatles took the world by storm in the 1960s, becoming one of the most iconic bands of all time. The band was so popular that one of their tours became known as Beatlemania. This tour took the Beatles worldwide, which caused the fans to go crazy over the band. Fans would do anything in their power to get to meet the band, that they would go to some great lengths to get close to them. Police would sometimes have to use water hoses to hold them back. Next comes Star Wars in 1977. During opening weekend, Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope made almost $7 million. The film arguably became one of the most popular films in pop culture history. During its initial release, 20th Century Fox really didn't support the film in terms of catering to the fan base. The only thing fans could buy were some shirts and posters. The marketing team eventually found a toy maker named Kenner Toys. Demand was so high for toys that they had to give out vouchers to redeem them toys at a later date. The 80s were a time full of pop culture, but the rise of Michael Jackson was the biggest of them all. Regarded as the king of pop today, Michael Jackson was on everybody's radio. Michael Jackson's infamous album Thriller became one of the best-selling albums of all time in the 80s, and the influence he had was at an all-time high, winning countless awards and shaping the music industry in his image. From the 90s through to the present day has been considered the golden age of pop culture because there were so many iconic moments. The rise of rap, the release of the first Harry Potter film, and the birth of countless animated series. The entertainment industry provided every fan with a chance to be their favorite artist or character. Harry Potter is a key example of pop culture in our current time. The original film released in the 90s, but has paved the way for the other 8 Harry Potter films that have come out more recently. Fans of the series dress up as their favorite character during Halloween or during a super fan club centered around the world of wizardry.
We've all seen the videos, heard the chants, and been a part of the crowds. Fandoms are everywhere and are often made up of diverse crowds. While most fans are there for the entertainment, others take their love too far. This is where the term toxic fandom comes in, where instances of personal attacks, rants, and bullying run rampant. Our very own Stephen Gomez takes a look at this year's most toxic and wholesome fandom moments.
If something exists, then there are fans of it. From movies to music, books to celebrities, and sports to esports, fandoms are a major part of everyday society. However, not all fan moments are wholesome and done with the right intentions in mind. This is called toxic fandom, a portion of the fan base that are excessive, intolerant, cruel, and at times an actual danger to others. However, a majority of the fan base are extremely loyal, compassionate, and helpful towards their community. Today, we're going to look at 4 examples, to each, of fan moments and the impact they have on society. Stefán Karl Stefánsson was an actor from Iceland known for his role as Robbie Rotten from the children's show Lazy Town. In March 2018, Stefan was diagnosed with bile duct cancer and revealed he was undergoing chemotherapy to fight back. Fans began a GoFundMe page called Stefán Karl's Year of Healing, raising over $100,000 in support. Fans also spread information about the situation through memes and most notably, the remixes of one of Robbie Rotten's songs, We Are Number One. Unfortunately, Stefan passed away from stage 4 bile duct cancer on August 21, 2018, at age 43. The support, however, didn't stop there, as fans created a petition to erect a statue of Stefan in his hometown in Iceland, which is still accepting signatures. If only the Star Wars fans could show the same love to actress Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose Tico in The Last Jedi. Once the movie was released in theater, on December 15, 2017, the backlash was enormous. One of the main targets of this toxic rabble was the character Rose Tico. Taking to social media, the cretins attacked Kelly's Instagram and Twitter accounts, wanting her character removed from the Star Wars canon. After having her social media feed flooded with personal, sexist, racist attacks, Kelly removed herself from the platforms. Fans, friends, and co-workers were appalled by the attacks and did their best to protect Kelly. The controversy is still discussed to this day, as fans from both sides defend their actions during the entire situation. After Steven Hillenburg, creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, passed on November 26, 2018 from ALS, fans took to the internet to share their favorite episodes and memes. Eventually, a petition was created to have the song Squeak Victory played at the 2019 Super Bowl halftime show. The song comes from beloved episode Band Geeks, where characters from the show perform at the Bubble Bowl, a Super Bowl halftime show parody. More than 1 million people signed the petition, and while the song wasn't played during the halftime show, SpongeBob did appear along with other characters from the show for a brief cameo in honor of Hillenburg. While some fans were happy, many were left disappointed with how short the cameo was and the lack of Squeak Victory during the show itself. However, hockey team Dallas Stars on February 4, 2019, uploaded a video on their Twitter called The Super Bowl Halftime Show Fans Deserve. Sports have their moments of greatness, but are sadly no stranger to toxic fans. On Monday, October 14th, when Bulgaria soccer fans began racist chants and throwing Nazi salutes toward England players, the Bulgaria captain pleaded with fans to stop, but was ultimately ignored. Officials had to stop the game twice before eventually removing the group of fans causing the problems. The event highlighted on the European Football Association's inability to combat racism in the sport. While there are protocols in place if such event happened, England fans were left disappointed by the lack of progress over the game's situation. The one good thing the game did show, however, was how united England fans were when their players were attacked.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Breakdown. Sitting here with me, I have Abby Jones and Maddie Davis. Thank you guys so much for being here. We will get right into it. My first question, Maddie, is to you. I want you to fill in the blank, okay?
Okay.
You could call me a major fan of blank.
Punk, metal, and rock.
Yeah?
Yes.
Are you a concert fan?
I am a huge concert fan. I go to them all the time, and I really enjoy it. It's a smaller scene, and everybody gets along well.
Now, is this the kind of concert where they have, like, mosh pits?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Everybody runs around. People are swinging. People are jumping off the stage. But it's, honestly, I look at it as a way of self-expression for some of these people. That's just how they got to get it out sometimes.
Okay. And Abby, what about you? If you could call yourself a major fan of anything, what would it be?
I'm definitely a major fan of K-pop, Korean pop music, and the art scene on Instagram, DeviantArt, etc.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's take it back a little bit. So although the term fandom is relatively new, which means fan kingdom or fan army, the idea of a fan society isn't as new. How do the fan armies of today differ from the fan armies of 30 years ago? Abby?
I think the advent of the internet really changed all of that, because before, with fandoms for the Beatles maybe, or for Star Trek, they did everything in person. Conventions were in person, concerts were in person, and although we still have concerts and conventions, the main form of communication today is on the internet. It's easier, it's quicker, and everybody's involved in it who wants to be involved in it.
And does including the internet in this new fan dynamic, does that bring along with it some drawbacks along with the positives?
Definitely. I would say that a lot of culture can be, it can either be really good and really encouraging, that you can find niche fan cultures to be a part of, or niche fandoms, but that also means that everybody, even with very polarizing opinions, or people who don't accept the opinions of others, can also be involved in those fandoms. With freedom of speech comes those kind of drawbacks.
And well, so you've mentioned that fan cultures nowadays have these kinds of negative effects. Mm-hmm. Well, Maddie, do you think that you could name any kind of examples where you've seen fan cultures negatively or maybe even positively affect the people around them?
Yeah, I think that on the negative side, depending on what fan culture it is, people get obsessive and they claim stake, and they feel like they have an ownership to whoever they're worshiping, fanning over. And I think that can cross the line a lot with some people. And I think that it's unfortunate for the celebrities that they're fanning over. I mean, I think of whenever I listened to One Direction, and everybody loved One Direction, and everybody was claiming this member, claiming that member. And I think at the end of the day, for those celebrities, it's probably very, it's nice to have that attention, but after a while, I can only imagine it gets old. But as a positive side to that, I feel like the community that provides to everybody, you know, I played soccer. When I left soccer, I had played my whole life, and losing that team environment, naturally I wanted to find that kind of environment again. And so I found that within the community of people that I've met when I listen to this kind of music. And I think that's the positive that this brings for some people, is that community.
So I think when you say that it creates a community, I think that probably is one of the biggest highlights, or one of the most attractive things about fan culture, is that everyone involved is centered around, like you said, one thing they like.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they can usually get by without creating these hierarchies or these intrinsic subcultures within a subculture almost.
Yeah.
But I think you're right to say that those issues still exist, especially when it becomes something obsessive, or there's that mentality of, I give this celebrity so much attention, so it's only natural that they give it back to me in some portion, which is really odd, but it does exist, especially with the advent of the internet and the incorporation of it into how people consider themselves a fan of a celebrity, a band, or even a sport. But let's go to our next question, which is, how do we define sensible and practical fan behavior, and how do we encourage people, particularly young people, to practice it? Abby?
I think respect is at the top of the list. We have to consider ourselves all a part of fan culture and of fandom. And in that regard, we should be leading by example, knowing that the other people involved in fandom are human beings. They have their own issues, their own problems, their own opinions, and that we're all coming together to celebrate one thing, and that should be the only thing that matters, not any differences that exist within the fandom.
And Maddie, what do you say on that?
I feel at the end of the day, everybody is there because they like the same things. I feel like that's a positive. Nobody should be fighting over certain aspects of something that applies to the fandom. Everybody's there for the same reason, and that's the community and the people that bring them together.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Before we go, I do want to ask, do you guys have any crazy fan experiences of things that have happened to you recently or long in the past, Maddie?
Yes, last Friday at a show, it was heavy metal. I was singing a band called Knocked Loose. I broke my nose. I was on the outskirts of a mosh pit. It opened up, and before I could even adjust myself, this guy comes swinging elbows and threw one right in the middle of my eyes and knocked me out. Broke my nose, and they asked if I wanted an ambulance. I said no, I just wanted to go back to the show. So I slapped a Band-Aid on it, and I went back out.
And did you go to any shows after that?
I went to 2 that same weekend.
With a mask on?
With a mask on.
All right.
Yep.
Mosh pit and all?
Yes,
Cool.
mosh pit and all, crowd surfing and everything.
Alrighty. Abby, do you have any crazy fan story or experience or something that stuck with you?
Although it's not as intense as breaking your nose in the mosh pit, the Korean pop concert I went to, I saw BTS, and there were a couple points during the concert that the fans were all singing the songs that that we all know and love, that the band has said. Oh gosh, let me start over. Sorry.
You're good. Just give it a beat and I can start over. And
Okay.
just, take your time.
Okay.
But I'll ask you, cool. Okay. So, Abby, do you have any crazy fan stories or anything that has stuck with you in the past?
Although it's not as intense as breaking your nose in a mosh pit, there were points during the BTS concert that I went to where the entire audience was singing songs that they had known by heart, that we had all known by heart, and that reverberation around the entire stadium made my heart feel so full. And I think that's the positive fan community that we all come back to, the reason that we all participate in fandom is moments like that.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. My name is Brendan Wynne. Follow us on social media at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Catch you next time.